Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be really not on this knife, but on Chris Reeve Knives' warranty and service. So this is something that obviously there's lots of videos out there on. If you're familiar with Chris Reeve Knives, you're probably familiar with the fact that they have very good service. They're known for having very good service. You can send your knife in and have it really refinished so that you can go from, even a much more well-used knife than this one and basically have almost, not quite, but almost a brand new knife. And I'll talk about everything that they can do, or at least everything they did on mine. And it's a really nice kind of feature to these knives because they are such expensive knives. So for example, this plain version of the Sebenza 31 large is $500. This one was a little bit more, $530, because of the double thumb studs. But it's an expensive knife, and it's really great to have that service, and it's part of what you're paying for when you're buying one of these, and certainly one of the things that people really enjoy and kind of point to in the value equation for these knives. So I have these two Sebenzas. I've done videos on both and comparing them, but I have carried and used both of these a lot this year here since getting this one initially, and I carried this one a lot. Got quite a few scratches and stuff on it, and it needed a good sharpening, and I wanted to get a sharpening by the factory because they do it a little bit differently than I would. It seems like it's a little bit of like a convex edge on from the factory, and I wanted to get that, and I don't do that type of sharpening. The other thing is I wanted to just get it kind of refinished to see the difference here, to be able to show this and have it, again, pretty much like new. So you can send your knife in and have it refinished here on the handle, so they either sandblast it or re-glass blast it. This one is the normal finish, not the glass blasted. And this knife probably had about the same wear, scratches, snail trails, whatever you want to call them. I don't know how well you can see it here in my lighting, but about the same or a little bit more than this one was what this had. So you can see that they really bring it back to pretty much exactly like how you would get it from a dealer. You can't see really any wear on this, and I certainly carried this in my pocket with my phone or other things, and it certainly you can't tell. It really is back to like new. So that's one thing that they do. They also take it apart. They grease it up. They retune it. So if you have any issues with your washers, sometimes they can get pinched and things like that. They'll retune them. And so in particular for this one, for whatever reason, it seems to have maybe made it slightly less drop closed, but not any less smooth. It's super, super smooth. I was really happy with how this one eventually broke in, but you can see very smooth and easy to open and close, and really almost drop closed. Takes a little bit of a shake, whereas it was probably almost as smooth as this one is when I sent it in. So you can see that this one does drop closed, and that's with no blade play here, but this is tuned up completely to specs, and boy, it really is smooth. And then again, very, very solid. They will check everything else internally there, and then you can get the blade refinished if it needs it. This one didn't need it. And I believe you can also get new thumb studs. I considered getting this made into a single thumb stud, so you could change the thumb studs, but I didn't do that on this. But I wanted to show the sharpening. So again, it's a little different than I would do it. You can see the edge here, the corner, is somewhat rounded between the main grind, or the primary grind, and the secondary grind, which is the edge bevel. So it's kind of an interesting look to it. Now, being that the drop point gets a little bit thicker towards the tip as compared to down here and at the belly, you can see that that edge actually gets a little bit wider. That's something I've seen before on other Sebenzas that have been used and sharpened a good bit. I did sharpen this myself a few times before sending it in for a factory sharpening, and that's just something that's going to go along with it. A knife is a consumable, but this, is one of the things that I found interesting, is seeing that. It's one of the things that it doesn't bring it back to completely brand new. You do lose some of that edge, some of the material on the blade, but it's not a huge amount. I don't have an unused drop point Sebenza to show you to compare, but I don't think you're losing a whole lot of usable steel there. It's just kind of changing the look of the edge as compared to how again I might do it. But this knife also came back perfectly centered. I don't know how well you can see that there, but really nicely centered. Again, just super smooth. I love the sound of it. That's one of the things. I think the sound is a little bit different than this one, just because there's a bunch of stuff in this one, from carrying it and using it. But I love the sound that a brand new Sebenza makes. Interestingly, the clip here, it is, nice and solid. I did, I think, bend this clip a little bit, so I don't know if they rebent it or what, but the other thing, if you can hear that lanyard tube moving around. That's because I took the lanyard out, and the reason you don't hear it on this one is because after taking the lanyard out on this one, I actually put a little bit of Loctite in there, so it just kind of holds it in place. So that's one thing, they didn't re-Loctite that, but I didn't really want a lanyard put back on it. I think it's like $20 extra or something, which isn't ridiculous, but it's just not something that I felt necessary. So I just wanted to show this again. I know that it's something that probably, if you're familiar with Sebenzas or with Chris Reeve knives, that they have this great service and warranty. But I wanted to share my experience, and really the main thing I wanted to share, which I don't know how many people are going to see it 7 minutes into the video, but the main thing I wanted to share is the amazing turnaround time that I have had. I've actually sent this knife in twice. When I first got it, it was a little off center, and they suggested that I send it in for them to look at. And the turnaround time was only 2 weeks then. It was, I think, 2 weeks on the dot to the day. And that's, compared to what they tell you when you send it in and they email you that they got it, is 6 to 9 weeks. And then the second time, this time where it was just getting the spa service and the sharpening, it was actually 8 days. So very close to 1 week. And that is really great. That's another positive for me. I don't know if it's always like that or if I've just been lucky, but I thought that was really great that the turnaround time was so short both times. Again, 2 weeks pretty much on the dot, and almost only 1 week. I think that's a really great turnaround time. Now, actually, I didn't see the email. I missed the email for like 2 months. And so I took a long time to actually get it back to me, but that was 100% my fault. So I was really impressed by the turnaround time both times that I sent this knife into Chris Reeve Knives. So I, never really thought that I would have 2 of these or, do as many videos as I have on these knives, but I have really been enjoying them, and I'm really happy to have them. So if it's something that makes sense for you, I think that you do get a lot of value, but again, only if it's something that makes sense for you. I have had a lot of people mention or comment on my videos that these have been outpaced and all this stuff, and that might be the case, but for me, I really enjoy them. So I know a lot of other people do also. So I hope this video was interesting, enjoyable for you. If so, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. Also, check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics, and subscribe to the email newsletter there. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.